useful instrument in chemistry because it measures volume in more precise ways than a beaker or a flask would. But to use the pipette, you first have to prime it. Priming it simply means cleaning it. To clean a pipette, you have to rinse it 3 times with distilled water, and then 3 more times in the solution that you're going to use. So just cut that off and we'll wash it. In order to clean your pipette, after you've rinsed it 3 times in distilled water, you're supposed to rinse it with the solution that you're going to use in it. To extract the solution, you're going to need this little bowl. You have to squeeze it a few times, keep it compressed, stick it onto the top of your pipette. And then you stick your pipette down into whatever liquid you're getting and extract. When the liquid is about 1/3 of the way up your pipette, simply pull off the top bulb and put your index finger on top. Then you put 1 finger on each end and allow the liquid to drip to both ends of the pipette. And simply turn the pipette so the water inside, so the solution inside can clean all of the pipette. You also do this process with the distilled water. After you've rinsed your pipette with distilled water, you'll want to rinse it out with the solution you're going to use. We do this by attaching this little ball to the top of the pipette after squeezing it a few times to get it started. Squeeze it onto the top of the pipette, and then you slowly release to get the water up into the pipette. Now when you have about 1/3 of the way through the pipette, you release the top and hold the top with your index finger. It's going to feel more comfortable with your thumb, but you should probably do it with your index finger because you have more control that way. Next, we're going to wipe the excess off of our pipette. Alright, cut that. After you've finished rotating your pipette for the last time, simply tip it over and release your finger from the top. Let the pipette drain at its own pace. When there's a little left in the tip, simply take the ball that we had earlier, but instead of compressing it, you're going to leave it as it is, stick it onto the head of the pipette, and squeeze so the remaining liquid comes out. Alright, stop. Okay. Now that you've finished cleaning your pipette, you're ready to use it. Simply compress the ball as we did earlier, stick it onto the head of the pipette, and submerge your pipette in your solution. Gradually let the liquid come out. When you've reached the desired height, simply take the ball off and mark it off with your index finger. We're going to let our pipette drain a little because the last 10mm mark is right there. Now as you can see, there's a little curve right there. That's called the meniscus. This happens because lab glassware is slightly polarized, and therefore water is also polar by nature. So, since polar and polar attract, water clings to the side of the glassware and kind of hollows out in the center, thus creating a curve that we call the meniscus. The meniscus is more pronounced in narrow glassware such as pipettes and graduated cylinders versus flasks and beakers. To get an accurate measurement, you must take the measurement from the bottom of the meniscus. So where that bottom of the curve is, you can see is right at the line 0. Now, to get an accurate measurement, hang on, I said that wrong. Okay, stop this. So our pipette is currently holding exactly 10 milliliters of our solution. We are going to empty some of the solution into this graduated cylinder.
I'm going to go get a solution.
Now, as you can see, the meniscus has shifted. It is now, okay, hold on, pause the video. Now, as you can see, the meniscus lies at 6.2. Therefore, okay, pause that. So the number that I showed you earlier on the pipette was 6.2. So we write that under our next volume.
Yeah, this one's 3 milliliters.
As you can see, our initial volume was 10 milliliters. So in order to get the volume still left in the pipette, you'd simply have to subtract the initial volume from the volume you emptied into another glass. And in this case, we would get 3.8 milliliters are left in the pipette. When you're ready to empty some of your solution into a receiving vessel, you simply tap the side of the pipette to the glass vessel and release as much fluid as you desire. In this case, I think I'll stop right here and simply lightly touch the edge of the pipette to the glass to receive any remaining liquid on the tip. Alright, pause it. As you can see here, the pipette's initial volume was 10.00 milliliters. The pipette's next volume was 6.20 milliliters. When you're finished using your pipette, simply rinse it out the same way that we did with the solution and the distilled water, except in this case, at the end of the usage, you rinse it with tap water 3 times.
We're not doing it we're not doing a video of our experiment.
Good enough. Alright, now measure it, like, that's on the what number?
2 in one line, so it's 2.1.
So, write that down.
Are we on 6 pipette?
Now, touch the tip of the pipette to the edge of this glassware and let go just a little bit. Okay, now stop and kind of...
That was the last one we did. So we gotta do one more.
Okay.
Do you guys really
Now,
want to do 1 milliliter, or do you want to do the 250?
what is that number right there?
Yeah, it takes more accurate. It's just that when we pour some alcohol, so that's
Actually, it's 5 point something.
So we're using 100 then? Sure.
Okay, good. Alright, now just let that go. Yeah, just let it go. Alright, I'll hold that and you do the calculation. No, that's 7.9. Okay, good.
1.6 for the pipette.
Yeah.
1.4 is do we have all the graduating cylinders? We have all the 10 mil.
10 mil. We'll give you the 100.
Alright, can I see your information for the graduating? He's got a copy there, so I'm also probably going to get
Such a cool lip right here.
the 10 mil side.
Connect the tip to that little lip right there. You do 3 and then minus. Or you can do 4, whichever.
I'm just going to put
2.4. 9.35. 6.46, 6.5. 4.7.